guys, go see this movie, right? Like, this is one of the rare movies that comes along that I think everyone will find something they love in it. I fucking loved this movie. It's so fun and it's so goddamn clever. If you were going to skip this movie because you thought it was just another piece, like AI horror cash grab, that is fair enough. We have been inundated with those shitty movies. But this one is so worth seeing. Sidebar, I've been in the mood for horror comedies probably because of the clusterfuck that is the current news cycle. So if you have any good horror comedies, fucking flick them my way, whether it's in the comments or on Insta or whatever the fuck. Because yeah, I've been churning through them recently. But this movie it's just a great time. It's effortlessly funny. There are some great kills, and it points out something that I didn't realize until writer-director Drew Hancock waved it in front of my face like a big fucking flag. And that is, the greater threat to humanity isn't AI, it's the creepy fucks who are currently obsessed with AI, right? Like, why would they want to put AI in everything? Is it probably because they don't treat other people well, and the thought of having a friend or sexual partner that doesn't have their own will and sort of has to be subservient excites them? Because that's a creepy fucking thought, and one that Companion manages to shine a spotlight on while also being a hilariously good time, which is such a fine needle to thread. Valentine's Day is coming up, and if you are in a relationship with a horror lover, I highly recommend a trip to the movies to see Companion. I think that'd be the perfect date night, to be honest, because this is a good time movie, and it's not like too over the top in terms of horror. I wasn't sure how I was going to talk about the plot of this movie without like hinting at the first reveal, but like the director and the production team were perfectly happy to put the fact that Sophie Thatcher's character is AI in the poster, the trailer, and the one-sentence summary on IMDb. So as far as I'm concerned, that is fair game, but I won't reveal any more than that, right? And to be fair to them, you piece it together within like minutes of this movie, and it didn't dampen my experience at all. So I think, that is just what it is. Like, it's sort of like Abigail in that way. Starring Sophie Thatcher and Jack Quaid, two actors who I think are well on their way to being horror icons. Companion follows Iris and Josh as they are set to spend a weekend away with a group of friends at a Russian billionaire named Sergei's house, who is dating one of their friends' cat. Always a good start. Remote mansions, love it. The plan is to drink way too many cocktails, eat way too good food, and just dance the weekend away. Fucking perfect sounding weekend. Love that for them. When one of the members of the friendship group sort of does something fucked up and, basically plays up, the party descends into chaos, blood, and a cautionary tale of why you should treat your life partner like a fucking human. Where do I start with the good of this movie? First off, I love the friendship group. Even the members of the friendship group that I didn't like, I thought, you're going to be important later, I can tell. And that's always, for me, the sign of a good horror movie. Like, if someone is unlikable, but you can sort of tell they're going to be integral to the story, that's a good sign, because it means that they've been written in a way where the director's sort of like, I'm cooking something up, relax. Like, they're just not in it for the fuck of it, right? Like, there is payoffs in this, and they do happen, and it's really good. Lukas Gage from Smile 2 and Harvey Guillen, who plays Guillermo on What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show. Fucking hilarious. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch that. They play this adorable couple. Like, I just love them. They're so funny together. They are so in love. You feel the warmth from them, and you just want them to be okay in all this chaos and violence. Horror films like this require that. If you have too many red shirts, like in something like Friday the 13th or whatever, you root for the killer, right? That is, this, every kill, every piece of violence has stakes, and that's what partly what makes this movie so fucking good. Sophie Thatcher is phenomenal as Iris. I don't know how she does it, but she manages to hit the uncanny valley, even though she's in fact human. Like Sophie Thatcher you're like, you're a robot. Even though I know, like Sophie Thatcher in real life is a human, but she just plays everything 1 or 2% weird, and it's perfect for this role. She is phenomenal in this. She is quickly becoming one of my favorite horror actors. The pacing of this movie is really good. It clocks in just over 90 minutes, and while it's not like a non-stop action gore fest, the dialogue and conversation scenes are so engaging that I was on board for the entire runtime. Drew Hancock knows why we're here. He knows what we're expecting. We want a quick, fun time, and he gives that to us. Also, what I really like about the action scenes in this movie is the use of Iris's abilities is extremely well thought out. Like, too many times in these AI horror movies, the robot's like super strong, fucking unkillable, walks through walls, just sort of brute forces everything by the fact that they're super strong. Iris has to puzzle her way through. Like, you can see she is trying to puzzle her way through how to use her abilities to get what she wants done, achieved, and I really like that. It's like a programmer. I am a programmer, by the way, if people don't know. I felt her working shit out like a computer works things out. It's really, really fun. She's not just a bulletproof like Terminator type. It's super feasible and super realistic, and I really like that. There is one scene involving a cop that is just perfectly encapsulates what I'm talking about. If you've seen this movie, let me know what you thought of that scene. I fucking loved it. It's so goddamn clever, using Asimov's rules. The jokes all hit for me, and honestly, some of the throwaway lines are the funniest lines in this movie, and the fact that everyone in my audience was laughing at the same bits is really good, because, you know, like, if everyone's having a good time, it does make me feel better as a reviewer, because sometimes I've got a weird sense of humor. I like shit that people think is fucked up, but everyone was on board for this one in the cinema. Everyone was laughing their ass off, and it's just mass appeal, but it's well written. It's so fucking good. This is just a good time at the cinemas. There's not really too much to say here in the bad, because I basically loved everything about this movie, to be honest. The only caveat that I would say is probably that this slants more black comedy than it does horror, although there are some pretty full-on fucking kills. So if you are hoping for something like full-on scary and like a really serious, like the first Terminator or whatever, you know, like a serious slasher, AI slasher, this isn't really that. But I would be very surprised if you still don't like it. Like, there is something for everyone in this movie, and I'd honestly, I'd be very surprised if this wasn't in my top 10 for 2025, and it's only February, so that's a big fucking call. I really like this movie. I recommend watching this if you love movies that are heavy on comedy with horror sprinkled in. If you like stuff like Bodies, 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 or The Final Girls, great film by the way, you will like Companion. If you love horror that sort of Trojan horses deeper ethical or societal discussions in, you know, horror where you go, oh, this is a fun film, and then you think on it more and you're sort of like, this is fucking terrifying. This is actually a really terrifying premise. It Follows is a good version of this. Get Out too. This is sort of like that. This does that. This asks really poignant questions and really interesting questions, and I think really good horror does that. I do not recommend watching this if you hate horror comedies. This is very funny. This is a horror comedy for sure. Or if you are looking for like a full-on scare, you want a real scary AI horror movie, this is not that. Maybe something like Possessor could be your bag, but this is not that. If you like this movie and you want another funny horror comedy that I think most people will love, I highly, highly recommend 2019's Ready or Not. It stars Samara Weaving, who I adore, as Grace, who is about to be wedded into the Lee Domas board game empire. She learns that it is tradition on the night of the wedding to play a board game with the family. And unfortunately for Grace, that game is hide and seek. And in this context, it has deadly consequences. This movie is so absurd. It's so darkly funny. It's one of my comfort films. I watch it all the time. My horror-averse partner watched it with me, and she fucking loved it. It is that good. It's also got one of the greatest final scenes in horror ever, ever, ever. I adore Ready or Not, and I highly recommend you watch it if you haven't. Now, if you want a tech AI thriller, it's pretty hard to go past Ex Machina. Most people probably have seen it by now, but because it's almost 10 years old, I'm hoping to get it into the hands of the next generation stepping up. It asks very similar questions to Companion, although I should say Companion asks very similar questions to Ex Machina. It's got Domhnall Gleeson as a computer programmer who has to go to his CEO's remote mansion to do a Turing test on an AI that he's created named Ava. A Turing test, for those who don't know, it's basically the test to make sure that a computer system is actually intelligent. That is what a Turing test does. It has an absolutely batshit performance by Oscar Isaac that I just adore, and it's the movie is an all-around delight, even though it's really unsettling. There is a dance scene in this movie that's one of my all-time favorites. It comes out of fucking nowhere. I just love it. It's superbly written. The visual effects are so good, even though it's 11 years old now. Still fucking good, still bangs. And also very fucking timely. Talking about the ethics of tech billionaires and AI, that's so timely for a movie that was written 11 years ago. That's it. Let me know if you've seen this movie. What did you think? Are you excited about the takeover of our AI overlords? All hail. What are your favorite tech horrors? If you've got tech horrors, I love a good tech horror. Though I find that recently, maybe it's because of the rise of AI, everyone's trying it on. There's been some fucking shit ones, which is a shame because good ones done well. Possessor, if you haven't seen Possessor 2, check out Possessor. That's a fucking great tech horror. As always, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that shit. I really appreciate it, honestly. Everyone who watches this and likes it and comments, I appreciate the hell out of you guys. I'm really trying to grow the channel this year, and I can't do it without you guys. So hopefully I'll see you next week for another review. Peace.